The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest structure ever built by any species in the known galaxy. It floated in the empty space between stars, a massive ring of metal and glass that could hold millions of beings at once. Today, it held representatives from 847 different alien civilizations. They had come to decide the fate of humanity. Captain Park stood on the observation deck of the Horizon's Edge, Earth's diplomatic flagship. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the United Earth Fleet for 30 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. Through the window, he could see the assembly hall glowing with soft blue light. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it, each one representing a different species, a different world, a different way of thinking. And today, all of them were thinking about humans. "They are starting," said Admiral. He was an older man with a calm face and steady hands. He had commanded fleets in 3 different conflicts. Nothing seemed to scare him, but today even he looked worried. Nodded, he turned on the display screen. The image showed the inside of the assembly hall. In the center, standing alone on a small platform, was Ambassador. She was a small woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She represented all of Earth, all of humanity, all 12 billion people spread across 13 worlds. She looked very small. The Speaker of the Council was a creature called a. It had no real body, just a cloud of glowing particles that could take any shape. Right now, it took the shape of a tall, thin figure with long arms. Its voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "The Council has reached a decision regarding the species known as humanity," the speaker said. "This decision is final and cannot be appealed." Felt his stomach tighten. He had known this moment was coming. Everyone had known, but knowing something and facing it were very different things. 50 standard years ago, humanity applied for membership in the Galactic Council, the speaker continued. "Since that time, we have observed your species carefully. We have studied your history, your biology, your psychology, your technology. We have watched how you treat each other and how you treat other species." The speaker paused. The hall was completely silent. Millions of alien beings waited. "Our conclusion is this: humanity is too dangerous to be allowed in council space." Heard Admiral take a sharp breath. On the screen, Ambassador's face did not change. She stood completely still, her hands folded in front of her. The speaker continued speaking. It listed the reasons for the decision, one by one. First, humanity possesses what we call aggressive expansion instinct. In only 300 years, your species went from your home planet to 13 colony worlds. No other species in Council history has expanded so quickly. This rate of growth is considered threatening to galactic stability. Remembered those colony worlds. He had visited most of them. Miners and farmers and scientists, all working hard to build new homes among the stars. Was that really so dangerous? Second, humanity displays disturbing adaptability. Your species can survive in environments that kill other beings. You eat foods that are poison to most life forms. You thrive in temperatures that other species cannot tolerate. This biological flexibility makes you unpredictable and difficult to contain. Almost laughed. Humans were being punished for being tough, for surviving, for refusing to die when the universe tried to kill them. Third, humanity shows concerning creativity and violence. Your history is filled with wars, weapons, and destruction. While other species have also experienced conflict, none have developed such varied and effective methods of killing. The Council believes this tendency will eventually be directed outward, toward other species. This one hurt more, could not deny it. Human history was bloody, but humans had also created art, music, medicine, love. Did none of that matter? For these reasons, the Galactic Council has voted unanimously to banish humanity from Council space. You have one standard galactic year to remove all human presence from the 13 worlds currently under your control. After that time, Any human vessel found within Council borders will be destroyed without warning. The hall erupted in noise. Some species cheered. Others made sounds that could not understand, but he understood the meaning: relief, celebration. The dangerous humans were being sent away. On the platform, Ambassador finally moved. She raised one hand, asking for silence. The noise slowly died down. "May I speak?" she asked. The speaker hesitated, then it nodded. "I will not beg," said. Her voice was calm and clear. "I will not argue. The Council has made its decision. I accept it." Whispers spread through the hall. The aliens had expected tears, anger, threats. They had not expected this. "I have only one question," continued. "How long do we have?" "One standard galactic year," the speaker repeated. 372 Earth days. Nodded slowly. "And if we need more time?" "There will be no extension. After 1 year, any human still in Council space will be considered an enemy combatant." Was silent for a long moment. Then she bowed her head slightly. "Thank you for your clarity," she said. "Humanity will comply with the Council's decision. We will leave your space. We will not return unless invited." She turned and walked off the platform. The aliens watched her go in confusion. Where was the anger? Where was the fear? Where was the desperation they had expected? On the observation deck, Admiral turned off the display. His face was dark with anger. "They have made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. Nodded. He was thinking about his daughter who lived on the colony world of New Sol. He was thinking about his who had never seen Earth. He was thinking about all the humans who had built lives among the stars, only to be told they were not welcome. "They think they are getting rid of us," said. Admiral looked at him. "What do you mean?" "They think we will scatter and die in the darkness between galaxies. They think we will fade away and be forgotten." Shook his head slowly. "They have no idea what they have done." "What have they done?" Turned to look at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, beyond the borders of Council space, was the outer void. No Council species had ever gone there. It was considered too dangerous, too unknown, too far from everything familiar. "They have set us free," he said, "and they will regret it." An hour later, Ambassador returned to the ship. She walked onto the bridge with her head high and her shoulders straight. If she had been crying, there was no sign of it now. "What are our orders?" asked. Looked at him. Her eyes were cold and determined. "Go home," she said. "Tell everyone what happened. Tell them we have 1 year to leave everything we have built." She paused. "And tell them to start packing. We have a lot of work to do." The horizon's edge turned away from the assembly hall and jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, 847 alien civilizations celebrated their victory. They did not know that they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The news spread across all 13 human worlds in less than an hour. Every screen, every radio, every communication device carried the same message. Humanity had been banished. They had 1 year to leave. For the first few hours there was silence. People stopped what they were doing. They looked at each other. They looked at the sky. They wondered what would happen next. Then something strange began. Instead of panic, instead of chaos, humans started to organize. Within 3 days, the United Earth government announced Project Exodus. Dr. Lee stood in front of a room full of reporters. She was the chief engineer of Project Exodus, a thin woman with glasses and messy hair. She had not slept in 2 days, but her voice was strong. "For the past 20 years, we have been preparing for this possibility," she said. "We always knew the Council might reject us. We always knew we might need to leave." A reporter raised his hand. "Are you saying we have a plan?" Smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting a long time for this moment. "We have more than a plan," she said. "We have a destination." She pressed a button. A holographic map appeared behind her. It showed Council space, a vast region of stars that the alien civilizations controlled, and beyond it, marked in red, was the outer void. No council species has ever explored the outer void, explained. They believe it is too dangerous, too far from their supply lines, too unknown. But we have been sending probes into the void for decades. We know there are habitable worlds out there, thousands of them. The room exploded with questions, raised her hand for silence. We also have new engine technology, she continued. Drives that can travel faster and farther than anything the Council has ever seen. We developed them in secret. We never told the Council about them. Her smile grew wider. They thought they knew everything about us. They were wrong. Across the 13 worlds, humans began to move. General Shin was in charge of the evacuation. She was a tall woman with silver hair and a commanding presence. She had fought in 3 colonial conflicts and had never lost a battle. Now she faced her greatest challenge, moving 12 billion people to an unknown destination. She set up her command center on Earth in the old city of. Maps covered every wall. Screens showed the status of every ship, every transport, every family that needed to be moved. We cannot take everything, she told her officers. We must choose carefully, people first, then knowledge, then tools, then everything else. One officer looked worried. What about the cities, the monuments, our history? His face was hard. We carry our history in our heads and our hearts. Buildings can be rebuilt. People cannot be replaced. The packing began, but it was not the desperate, messy packing of refugees. It was careful and organized. Scientists every piece of knowledge into quantum storage devices. Engineers designed seed factories that could rebuild entire industries from raw materials. Doctors preserved genetic samples of every living thing on Earth. Farmers collected seeds from every crop. Artists made copies of every painting, every sculpture, every piece of music. Teachers recorded every lesson, every story, every poem. Nothing would be lost, nothing would be forgotten. Young pilot flew supply runs between colony worlds. She was only 22 years old, with short hair and quick hands. She had dreamed of exploring the stars since she was a child. Now she was helping her entire species escape into the unknown. Her ship, the Swift Wing, was small but fast. She carried food, medicine, and equipment to the colony worlds that were farthest from Earth. Every trip took her past alien patrol ships. The Council was watching, making sure humans were really leaving. On one trip, landed on the colony world of Nu. It was a mining planet, rocky and cold. The people there had worked hard for generations to build their homes. Now they were taking those homes apart. An old man approached as she unloaded supplies. His name was Han, and he had lived on Nu for 60 years. His hands were rough from mining, and his face was lined with age. "You are young," he said. "You must be scared." Shrugged a little. "Are you scared?" Smiled. "No, I have seen this before." "What do you mean?" The old man sat down on a crate. "My grandmother came to this planet as a refugee. Her grandmother fled a war on Earth. Her grandmother before that survived a famine." He shook his head. "Humans have always been forced to move. We have always been told we do not belong, and we have always survived." Looked at the people around them. They were loading ships, carrying boxes, saying goodbye to the only home they had ever known. But no one was crying. No one was screaming. They were singing. It was an old song, one that's mother used to sing. A song about leaving home and finding a new one. A song about loss and hope. "We do not break," said. "We bend, we adapt, we keep going." He looked up at the sky where the stars were beginning to appear. "The Council thinks they are punishing us, but they are just giving us a new challenge, and humans love challenges." The Council sent observers to watch the evacuation. They expected to find chaos, despair, maybe even violence. Instead, they found something that made them very uncomfortable. The humans were efficient, too efficient. They dismantled their cities with precision, salvaging every piece of useful material. They loaded their ships in perfect order with no wasted space. They left nothing behind that could be useful. One observer, a creature with 6 legs and compound eyes, reported back to the council. They are not fleeing, they are migrating, like they have done this before, like they were ready. The council began to worry, but it was too late to change the decision. The humans were already leaving. On the final day, the last human ship prepared to leave council space. It was a massive arc ship called the New Beginning, carrying 50,000 people and everything they needed to start a new civilization. Ambassador stood on the bridge. She was tired. She had worked harder in the past year than she had in her entire life, but she was also proud. Every human who wanted to leave had been evacuated. Every piece of important knowledge had been saved. Every seed, every sample, every memory had been preserved. The council had given them 1 year. Humans had done it in 10 months. Activated the communication system. Her voice would be broadcast to every council world, every alien species that had voted for humanity's banishment. People of the Galactic Council, she said, you wanted us gone. We are leaving. We will not beg you to let us stay. We will not threaten revenge. We will simply go. She paused, looking out at the stars. But I want you to remember this day. Remember that you chose this. Remember that when we came to you with open hands, you pushed us away. Remember that when we asked to be your partners, you made us your enemies. Her voice grew harder. We do not know what we will find in the outer void. Maybe we will fail. Maybe we will die. But maybe we will succeed. Maybe we will build something greater than anything you have ever seen. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. And if we do, we will remember how you treated us. We will remember every insult, every fear, every vote against us. We will remember. She cut the transmission. The New Beginning turned toward the outer void. Behind it, a fleet of 10,000 ships followed. They crossed the border of council space and disappeared into the darkness. The council celebrated. The dangerous humans were finally gone. But one old council member, a being who had lived for 1,000 years, did not celebrate. He looked at the empty space where the human fleet had been, and he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. What have we done? He whispered. No one answered. At first the council was happy. The dangerous humans were gone. Their worlds were empty. Their technology was left behind for other species to claim. Everything seemed perfect. I was one of those who had voted for the banishment. He was a species with blue skin and 4 arms. His people valued order and stability above all things. Humans had been a threat to both. But now, sitting in his office on the council's capital world, I felt troubled. The numbers did not look right. He stared at his screen, reviewing the economic reports from the past decade. Trade was down by 30%. New inventions had slowed to almost nothing. Exploration of new star systems had nearly stopped. This cannot be correct, he muttered. He called his assistant. Check these numbers again. The assistant returned an hour later. The numbers are correct. The economy has been declining since the humans left. I did not want to believe it, but the evidence was clear. Humans had been the galaxy's traders. They bought and sold goods between species that would never deal with each other directly. They found ways to make profit from things others considered worthless. Without them, trade routes had collapsed. Humans had been the galaxy's inventors. They created new technologies faster than any other species. They solved problems that others accepted as impossible. Without them, progress had stopped. Humans had been the galaxy's risk-takers. They colonized worlds that others feared. They explored regions of space that others avoided. Without them, the galaxy had become smaller. I closed his screen. He did not want to think about what this meant. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, Merchant faced the end of his business. Was a short creature covered in brown fur. He had made his fortune selling human goods to other species. Human electronics were the most reliable. Human food was the most varied. Human art was the most interesting. Everyone wanted human products. Now there were no more human products. His warehouse was almost empty. The last shipment of human goods had sold out years ago. Other species had tried to copy human designs, but the copies were never as good. They broke too easily. They lacked creativity. They were boring. "What am I supposed to sell now?" asked his partner, a tall with green scales. "There are other products," they said, "from other species." "Other products are terrible," threw up his hands. "They make everything too expensive. They make things that only can use. They make weapons, and I do not sell weapons." He sat down heavily. Humans made things for everyone. They understood what people needed. "Maybe they will come back," they suggested. Laughed bitterly. "They are gone, we sent them away, and now we are paying the price." In the great library of the council, scholars studied what she called the human question. Was a species devoted to knowledge and memory. She had access to every piece of information in the council's archives, and she was worried. She had compiled statistics from the past 15 years. The results were disturbing. Medical research had slowed by 40%. Without human scientists pushing for new cures, other species had lost motivation. Diseases that should have been cured remained deadly. Terraforming projects had stalled completely. Humans had led most of these projects, transforming dead worlds into living ones. Without them, the galaxy had stopped expanding. Cultural exchange had nearly ended. Humans had been curious about everyone. They learned alien languages. They studied alien art. They tried alien foods. They connected species that had nothing in common. Without them, the galaxy was fragmenting. Wrote a report and sent it to the council. The title was simple: The Cost of Banishment. The council ignored it, but kept studying. She became obsessed with one question: what were the humans doing in the outer void? Ships had been sent to the border. Probes had been launched into the unknown. None of them found anything. It was as if the humans had vanished completely. Some species believed the humans were dead. The outer void was dangerous. Perhaps they had found nothing but empty space and cold death. Others believed the humans were hiding, waiting, planning something. The waiting was the worst part. On the council floor, arguments began to break out. Species blamed each other for the economic problems. Old conflicts, once settled by human mediators, returned with new violence. 3 minor wars erupted in a single year. A tried to calm the situation. "We must work together," he said. "We must find new solutions." "What solutions?" demanded an ambassador, slamming his heavy fist on the table. "The humans solved problems. We just argued about them." "We can learn to solve problems ourselves," I insisted. "Can we?" the ambassador laughed. "In 15 years, what have we solved? Nothing. We have only gotten worse." The argument continued for hours. No one agreed on anything. No one found any answers. Meanwhile, strange reports began to arrive from the border. Patrol ships detected unusual energy readings from the outer void, signals that should not exist, patterns that did not match any known technology. One captain, a young named N, was sent to investigate. He took his ship to the edge of council space and activated his sensors. What he saw made him freeze. Deep in the void, far beyond where any probe had traveled, he detected lights. Not natural lights, not stars or nebulae, artificial lights, thousands of them. Someone was building something out there. N reported his findings to the council. The report was classified immediately. Only the highest-ranking members were allowed to read it. I was one of them. He read the report 3 times. Then he sat in silence for a long time. The lights were arranged in patterns, Organized, planned, they stretched across dozens of star systems. They were growing. "They are not dead," A whispered. "They are thriving." He called an emergency meeting. The most powerful members of the council gathered in a secure chamber. "The humans are building an empire in the outer void," A announced. "We do not know how large it is. We do not know what technology they have developed. We do not know what their intentions are." "Perhaps they will stay there," one suggested. "Perhaps they have forgotten about us." "Would you forget?" I asked. "If someone banished your entire species, would you forget?" Silence. "We made a mistake," I continued. "We thought we were removing a threat. Instead, we may have created the greatest threat the galaxy has ever faced." "What should we do?" someone asked. I looked at the star map, at the vast darkness of the outer void where humanity was building something unknown. "Wait," he said, "and hope that when they return, they are willing to forgive us." But in his heart, a new hope was not enough. The council had made its choice 15 years ago. Now they would face the consequences. And somewhere in the darkness, lights continued to multiply. The first sign was a ripple in space, detected by a small patrol station near the border. The officer on duty, a nervous young, checked his sensors 3 times before reporting what he saw. A ship was emerging from the outer void. But this was not like any ship he had ever seen. It was massive, at least 10 times larger than the biggest council vessel. Its hull was made of strange metals that reflected no light. Its engines produced energy signatures that his computer could not identify. It moved through space with a grace that seemed impossible for something so huge. The officer sent an emergency alert. Within hours, the Council's entire border fleet had gathered to face the unknown vessel. Fleet Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the New Dawn, watching the alien ships assemble. He was 60 years old now, his hair completely white, his face lined with decades of hard work. But his eyes were still sharp, and his voice was still strong. "They are scared," he said quietly. His first officer nodded. "Should I activate weapons, Admiral?" "No," shook his head. "We did not come here to fight, not yet." Behind the New Dawn, 200 more ships waited in formation. They were smaller than the flagship, but each one represented technology that the Council had never imagined. The human Commonwealth had spent 30 years building these vessels, preparing for this moment. The moment of return. On the Council's capital world, emergency meetings were being held in every chamber. I, now old and tired, watched the live images from the border with growing dread. "What are they doing?" someone demanded. "Waiting," I said, "just waiting." "For what?" "For us to decide if we want to talk." After 3 days of silence, a transmission arrived from the human fleet. It was not a threat. It was an invitation. "People of the Galactic Council," the message said, "we are the human Commonwealth. We have returned from the outer void. We are not here to make war. We are here to offer a choice. Send a delegation to meet with us. Let us talk about the future." The message was signed by President Sora, elected leader of the human Commonwealth. The council debated for a week. Some wanted to attack immediately, before the humans could do anything else. Others wanted to flee, to abandon the border and hope the humans would not follow. A few, including I, argued for the meeting. "We must know what they want," I insisted. "We cannot make decisions based on fear alone." In the end, the council agreed to send a delegation. Captain piloted the shuttle that carried the human representatives to the Grand Assembly Hall. She was not 22 anymore. She was 52, a veteran of countless missions into unknown space. She had explored worlds that no council species had ever seen. She had helped build the Commonwealth from nothing. Now she was returning to the place where her people had been condemned. The shuttle landed in the same chamber where Ambassador had stood 30 years ago. But this time, the humans were not alone. Ambassador was still alive somehow. She was 85 years old, frail and thin, but her eyes still burned with fierce intelligence. She walked into the assembly hall with President Sora at her side. Millions of aliens watched in silence. President was a tall woman with calm eyes and a steady voice. She had been a child during the Banishment. She had grown up in the outer void, on worlds that her parents had helped build. She remembered nothing of the old life in council space. But she knew the stories. Everyone knew the stories. Of the Galactic Assembly, she began. 30 years ago you told us to leave. We left. 30 years ago you told us we were too dangerous to live among you. We went somewhere else. She paused, looking around the vast chamber. We found the outer void empty of civilizations but full of possibilities. We found thousands of habitable worlds. We found resources beyond imagination. We found things that you cannot even imagine. A holographic display appeared behind her. It showed a map of the galaxy, but a different map than the Council had ever seen. Council space was marked in blue. It was small, tiny really, a cluster of stars in one corner of the galaxy. The rest of the map was marked in red, human space. Gasps echoed through the chamber. We now control over 3,000 star systems, President continued. We have built cities on worlds that you thought were impossible to terraform. We have developed technologies that you do not understand. We have found allies, other species who also live beyond your borders, who also have been forgotten by your council. She let the map sink in before speaking again. We did not come here for revenge. We could destroy your fleets easily. We could take your worlds without much effort, but that is not what we want. I leaned forward. Then what do you want? President smiled. It was not a cruel smile, it was almost sad. We want to offer you a choice, she said. You can continue as you are, stay in your small space, keep your old ways, watch your economy decline and your civilization stagnate. We will not stop you. Or someone asked. Or you can join us, not as subordinates, not as members of our commonwealth, but as partners. We will share our knowledge with you. We will open trade routes. We will help you explore the galaxy that you have been afraid to enter. Silence filled the chamber. Admiral Park spoke for the first time. He had been standing quietly behind the human delegation, watching everything with careful eyes. I was there when you banished us, he said. I remember the words that were spoken. You called us dangerous. You called us unpredictable. You called us a threat. He stepped forward. You were not entirely wrong. Humans are dangerous. We are unpredictable. We are a threat to those who try to destroy us. But we are also builders, explorers, dreamers. We do not just survive. We grow, we create, we connect. He looked directly at her. You were afraid of what we might become. We want to show you what we chose to become instead. Stood slowly. He was the oldest member of the council now, the only one who had voted on the original banishment and was still alive. Why, he asked, his voice cracked with emotion. Why would you help us after what we did? Ambassador stepped forward. She moved slowly, supported by a walking cane, but her voice was strong. Because isolation is death, she said, for you and for us. Because the universe is too vast to explore alone. Because holding onto anger is a poison that destroys the one who carries it. She looked around the chamber one last time. And because this is who we are. When the world tells us we do not belong, we do not disappear. We build something better, and then we come back to share it. The debate lasted for days. Some species wanted to reject the offer, too proud to accept help from those they had once exiled. Others wanted to accept immediately, desperate for the knowledge and resources that humans could provide. In the end, a vote was called. The result was not unanimous this time. But it was enough. The Galactic Council, after 30 years of silence, opened communications with the human commonwealth. Trade agreements were signed. Knowledge was shared. Joint exploration missions were planned. Captain piloted the first mixed-species vessel into the outer void. Her crew included humans and 3 other species. They laughed at each other's jokes. They argued about food. They learned each other's languages. It was not perfect. There was still fear. There was still distrust. Old wounds did not heal overnight. But it was a beginning. And humans had always been good at beginnings. The galaxy was no longer divided. Where once there had been borders and barriers, now there were bridges. Ships of every design traveled freely between Council space and the human commonwealth. Trade flourished. Ideas flowed. Species that had never spoken to each other learned to work side by side. Director O stood at the window of his office, watching the traffic outside. He was in charge of the Joint Exploration Initiative, the organization that managed cooperation between humans and Council species. His station floated exactly on the old border, a symbol of unity built by 50 different species working together. Director, his assistant, called. "The reports from the Void Expedition are in." Turned from the window. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a patient manner. He had spent his career building connections between different groups. This job was the biggest challenge he had ever faced, and also the most rewarding. The reports were good. The expedition had discovered 3 new star systems with habitable worlds. They had made contact with another unknown species, peaceful beings who communicated through color changes. They had found ruins of an ancient civilization, older than anything previously discovered. Every day brought new discoveries. Every day, the universe became bigger and more wonderful. On the exploration vessel Unity, Lieutenant finished her shift and headed to the common room. She was 26 years old, born on a Commonwealth world, raised among the stars. She had never known the old divisions between humans and Council species. To her, working with aliens was simply normal. The Unity was crewed by 12 different species. There were humans and 8 others. They ate together, played games together, argued about silly things together. They were a family. Sat down next to her best friend, a named Tor. He was blue-skinned with 4 arms, and he was terrible at card games. They had met on their first day aboard the ship and had been inseparable ever since. "How was your shift?" Tor asked. "Long. We mapped 17 new asteroids. Captain says we might find something interesting in Sector 4 tomorrow." Tor made a gesture that recognized as excitement. "I love finding interesting things. That is why I joined the initiative." Smiled. "Why did you join, really? Your people voted to banish us." Tor was quiet for a moment. "My grandfather voted for the banishment," he admitted. "He believed humans were dangerous. He believed we were protecting ourselves." "And you?" "I was a child when the humans returned. I remember watching the news, seeing your ships appear at the border. I was so scared." Tor shook his head. "But then I watched what happened next. Your people did not attack. They offered to help. They shared their knowledge. They did not ask for revenge." He looked at with his compound eyes. "That day, I decided I wanted to understand humans. I wanted to know what kind of species responds to banishment with generosity instead of anger. I wanted to be part of that story." Reached out and touched his arm. "I am glad you did." On the station, Director O received a special visitor. Ambassador arrived in a small shuttle, moving slowly with the help of 2 attendants. She was 93 years old now, frail and tired, but she had asked to see the station before she died. Met her personally at the docking bay. "Ambassador," he said, bowing respectfully, "it is an honor." "Director O," her voice was weak but warm, "I wanted to see what we built together." He walked with her through the station, moving slowly to match her pace. She looked at everything with wonder in her eyes. Humans and aliens working at the same consoles. Children of different species playing together. Flags of hundreds of worlds hanging from the ceiling. "This is better than I imagined," she said quietly. "When I stood in that assembly hall all those years ago, I did not know if we would survive. I did not know if any of this was possible. You made it possible, said. You and all the others who refused to give up. She shook her head. I only did what any human would do. I kept going, I kept hopping, I kept building. They reached the observation deck. The old border was visible below, marked only by a simple line of lights. On one side, Council space. On the other, the Commonwealth. Ships crossed back and forth constantly. A young alien diplomat approached them. She was a tall and green-scaled, barely out of school. Ambassador, she asked nervously, I am sorry to bother you, but I have always wanted to ask you something. Smiled gently, ask. When the council banished you, were you not angry? Did you not want revenge? Was silent for a long moment. She looked out at the stars, at the ships, at the universe that had changed so much since her youth. Yes, she said finally. For a while I was angry, very angry. The council rejected us for no good reason. They treated us like monsters when we had done nothing wrong. Of course I was angry. But you came back, you helped us. Yes. Why? Turned to face the young diplomat. Her eyes were filled with something deep and sad and hopeful all at once. Because anger fades, she said, and revenge is a small thing. It would have felt good for a moment, but then what? More war, more hatred, more death. We had already lost so much. I did not want to lose our souls as well. She took a slow breath. Humans have a saying, living well is the best revenge. We decided to live well. We built new homes, new cities, new dreams. We created something beautiful out of the pain that was given to us. And when we were strong enough, we came back and offered to share that beauty with the people who had hurt us. That seems impossible, the diplomat said. How can you forgive such a terrible wrong? Smiled. I did not say I forgave them. Forgiveness is hard. Some days, even now, I still feel the anger, but I chose not to let that anger control me. I chose to act from hope instead of hate. That is the difference. She looked back at the stars. The council made a terrible mistake when they banished us, but mistakes can become beginnings. That is perhaps the most human lesson of all. We take our failures, our losses, our wounds, and we build something new from them, something better. The young diplomat was quiet for a long time. Then she bowed deeply. Thank you, Ambassador. I will remember this. Nodded. Good. Remember it. Teach it to your children. Teach them that the galaxy is too big for hate and life is too short for revenge. Teach them that we are stronger together than we are apart. Escorted back to her shuttle. Before she left, she turned to look at the station one last time. I will not be here much longer, she said, but I am not afraid. I have seen the future. It is brighter than I ever dared to hope. She squeezed his hand. Take care of each other, Director, humans and aliens alike. We are all children of the same universe. Then she was gone. 100 years after the banishment, the old council chamber became a museum. Visitors of 100 species walked through the halls where humanity had once been condemned. They read the history. They saw the recordings. They wondered how things could have been so different. A plaque marked the spot where Ambassador had stood on that final day. Here, in the year 2347, the Galactic Council voted to banish humanity. The humans departed into the unknown. They returned 30 years later with open hands instead of weapons. Today, their descendants explore the universe alongside ours. This monument reminds us that fear builds walls, but courage builds bridges. Among the visitors was a young girl named Park. She was 12 years old, great-great-granddaughter of Fleet Admiral Park. She read the plaque 3 times. Her mother stood beside her. What are you thinking? Looked up at the high ceiling of the old chamber. She imagined what it must have been like to stand here alone, facing an entire galaxy that wanted you gone. I am thinking about the future, she said. What about it? I want to explore. I want to go where no one has gone before. I want to find new worlds and new species and new wonders. Her mother smiled, like your ancestor. Like all of them, like everyone who refused to give up, like everyone who kept going even when it seemed impossible. Eyes were bright with determination. I want to show the universe what humans can do. Her mother pulled her close. You will, sweetheart, you will. Outside the museum, ships of every design crossed the stars. Humans and aliens worked and laughed and argued and dreamed together. The old fears were not completely gone, but they grew smaller every day. And somewhere out there in the vast darkness of the outer void, new lights were still appearing. New worlds, new possibilities, new beginnings. The Council had chosen banishment for Earth. But humans had chosen something better. They had chosen hope.